So hi, welcome back once again, Professor. Again in this video, we are going to discuss Nietzsche's Ecce Homo, and we are starting this conversation with Nietzsche and his work Ecce Homo. The reason why I chose this work is because this perhaps is by far Nietzsche's easiest book to understand, and perhaps this is where one should start reading Nietzsche, because this gives a kind of brief introduction of all his philosophical ideas and all his philosophical works. And also there is one more thing or let's say I want to begin with a question that when the book starts, in the introduction itself, Nietzsche says that, so I tell myself my life. So what does it mean, and how a person should interpret when it comes to Nietzsche? Because as we know that it is very difficult for a new reader to understand Nietzsche, because sometimes he can be very provocative, and sometimes many people read him differently. Misunderstood philosopher. So what's your thought on that?
Absolutely. It's a great point to start with. When Nietzsche says, and so I tell myself my life, in Ecce Homo, he's really inviting us into his own personal narrative. It's almost like a philosophical autobiography where he reflects on his life and his ideas in a very candid and introspective way. It's a chance for readers to see not just the intellectual content of his work, but also the personal journey behind it. And you're absolutely right that Nietzsche can be complex and sometimes provocative, which can lead to different interpretations. This is why approaching his work with an open mind and a willingness to explore the nuances is so important. Over time, as readers become more familiar with his themes, the depth and richness of his philosophy becomes more apparent. So, in summary, Ecce Homo gives us a unique lens into Nietzsche's own thoughts and how he viewed his own life and work, and it's a wonderful starting point for anyone interested in exploring his philosophy.
Interesting. There's a very interesting thing to note, when Nietzsche starts his autobiography, because this book can be seen as an autobiography. And he says, as a reader, if you come to the book in expectation of finding anything like a balanced or comprehensive or objective account of philosopher's life, so you are going to be surely disappointed. And of course, it gives a reader a few milestones, so tell me, why does he say that, and why does this becomes a kind of disappointment for a new reader, for a reader who wants a kind of objective truth or objective reality about life?
That's a really insightful observation. Nietzsche's Ecce Homo is indeed a unique work because it's not meant to be an objective or traditional autobiography. Instead, it's very much a subjective reflection, almost a declaration of his own perspective and his own philosophical stance. When he mentions that readers looking for a balanced or objective account will be disappointed, he's really highlighting that his work is more about a personal manifesto and a celebration of his own ideas and achievements. This can definitely be a bit of a shock for readers who come in expecting a straightforward conventional biography. Instead, they get Nietzsche's own bold and sometimes provocative take on his life and work. And that's actually part of what makes the book so fascinating and unique. It's not just about facts or events, but about how he perceived himself and his philosophy. So in that sense, Ecce Homo is really an invitation to see Nietzsche's philosophy through his own eyes and to appreciate the depth and the personality behind the ideas. It's definitely a unique and enriching experience for any reader.
Yeah, you rightly said. There's one more thing that really fascinates me, Professor, is that he produced four of his important books in his late life, in his last year, before turning himself into madness. And Ecce Homo was already the fourth he had produced in 1888, preceded by, of course, the Wagner case or Twilight of the Ideals and the Antichrist. So producing too many books within a certain period within, let's say, within an year, because I've read somewhere is that he had written this Ecce Homo within 3 weeks. So many people, think, or many people ask that how much can we really trust on Nietzsche's philosophy, because he was producing a lot, and soon he discovered that he had gone mad. So there was his mental breakdown, and perhaps that's because why people started questioning about Nietzsche's mental condition and Nietzsche's mental thought. So what's your intake? How much can we trust Nietzsche, and how much can we trust Nietzsche's later life, or Nietzsche's late philosophical insights or philosophical books?
That's a really thoughtful and complex question. It's true that Nietzsche's later works, especially those written in 1888, are incredibly intense and prolific, and they do come from a period when his mental health was declining. This certainly raises questions about how we interpret his later ideas. However, one of the key points to remember is that Nietzsche's philosophy, even in his later works, has been deeply influential and has stood the test of time. Even during his final years, the core idea he presented, such as the will to power, the eternal recurrence, and the idea of the Übermensch, continue to resonate and inspire countless thinkers. It's also important to consider that even though Nietzsche's mental health declined, he had spent decades developing a profound philosophical framework. The intensity of his later works can be seen as a kind of culmination of his lifelong philosophical exploration, rather than something to be dismissed. At the same time, it's perfectly valid to approach his late works with a bit of caution and a critical eye. It's always good to contextualize his ideas, understand the circumstances under which they were written, and appreciate the broader context of his work. In the end, Nietzsche's philosophy is rich and multidimensional, and while it's important to be mindful of the context his ideas have endured because of their depth and their capacity to inspire and provoke thought, it's really all about engaging with his work thoughtfully and critically.
Perfect. So there's one thing that really fascinates me is that, while writing Ecce Homo, the point of writing Ecce Homo is not, or let's say it's ostensibly to win himself new readers who will understand him all right, because he is greatly misunderstood. But rather, for the moment, the only reliable readership is himself, as he believes. And therefore he says that, and so I tell myself my life. So in a way he's actually retelling, or in a way he's actually interpreting his own life through this book. So in a way we can read this book from the perspective of a reader and a writer itself, because it's a book about becoming a reader, or it's a book about creating something new from his writing itself. So what's your intake on that, and how do you see it, and what do you think about it?
Absolutely, that's a wonderful way to look at it. Ecce Homo is indeed a deeply introspective work, and in many ways it's Nietzsche's own act of self-interpretation, self-affirmation. He's not just writing for an external audience, but also for himself, to make sense of his own life and his own philosophical journey. In a way, the book becomes a kind of dialogue between the writer and the reader, and sometimes even between the past and present self of Nietzsche. It's almost as if he's inviting us to join him in this reflexive process, and at the same time, he's creating a space where the reader can explore his ideas and his own thoughts. This dual perspective, both the writer and reader, is what makes the book so fascinating. It's not just about delivering a message, but also about engaging in a form of self-exploration and self-creation. It shows how philosophical writing can be a deeply personal and transformative act. So I think your interpretation is spot on. It's a reminder that Ecce Homo is as much about the process of writing and self-understanding as it is about the content of the philosophy itself. It really invites readers to reflect on their own journey of understanding and interpretation.
That's wonderful. There's one more thing that actually fascinates me again, because this is most of the time Nietzsche writes aphorism, which is very philosophical, very deep, and it needs very thoughtful interpretations. And here he says that in his book in Ecce Homo, while writing this Ecce Homo, he actually kept mentioning that it's not about, or it's not a book about modesty, or it's not a book about someone else. It is all about, because there's a very beautiful quotation. He says that there cometh one mightier than I after me. So he's basically proclaiming himself. So the next chapter, each chapter will have mightier version of Nietzsche than the previous version of Nietzsche, right? So how do you see it, and how one reader, or let's say if someone is starting his career, or someone just started reading Nietzsche, how does he interpret, or how does a person should look in Nietzsche's work?
That's such a rich and intriguing aspect of Nietzsche's work. In Ecce Homo, Nietzsche definitely presents himself in a very bold and even audacious manner, and he's not shy about proclaiming his own significant and the transformative nature of his philosophy. When he says, there cometh one mightier than I, he's not just talking about a future figure, but also emphasizing that his own ideas are meant to evolve and be taken up and expanded upon by future thinkers. For someone who's just starting out with Nietzsche, it can be really helpful to approach his work with curiosity and a willingness to delve into the complexities. Nietzsche often uses aphorisms, and each one can be like a puzzle that invites deeper reflection. It's about engaging with his ideas, actively questioning them, and seeing how they resonate with your own experiences and perspectives. Ultimately, what makes Nietzsche so compelling is that he challenges us to think for ourselves and to constantly question and reevaluate our beliefs. It's a journey of growth and self-discovery, and that's what makes reading him so rewarding.
Yeah. So, once we start reading, once we start, going forward with this book, the book itself, Ecce Homo, has four chapters in it, and all chapters starts with why I, and perhaps it aims to ensure that the book's author, the author of the reevaluation, is not misunderstood. So what's your intake? Why does he say that? Why does he starts, or why does he begin the chapter with why I? What's this why I, and what's the what's the cause, or what's the reason behind starting with why I? What's the reason behind affirming why I?
That's a great observation. When Nietzsche begins each chapter with why I, he's really emphasizing the importance of the individual perspective and the personal lens through which he interprets his own life and work. It's almost like he's ensuring that readers understand that this is not just a detached or objective account, but a deeply personal one. By starting with why I, Nietzsche's also reinforcing the idea of individuality and self-affirmation. He's highlighting that his philosophy is rooted in personal experience and perspective rather than detached objectivity. It's a way of making sure that readers understand that the insights he's sharing are deeply personal, and that his own individuality is central to his philosophy. For readers who are new to Nietzsche, this approach can be really enlightening. It encourages them to see philosophy as not just abstract concepts, but as a lived experience. It's a reminder that philosophy is deeply human, and that each thinker brings their own unique perspective to the table. It also invites readers to reflect on their own identity and how their own perspective shapes their understanding of the world. In short, starting with why I is a powerful way for Nietzsche to remind us that philosophy is a personal journey, and it's an invitation for readers to engage deeply and personally with his work.
Yeah, you rightly said that philosophy is a philosopher's personal journey. Well, I hope that our reader is loving our conversation. I hope this is going to be a very fruitful for them. Okay, now we are moving towards the end of the conversation, because we are going to discuss more in the later part of our conversation. But I want to end this conversation with one really provocative question: is that Ecce Homo is instead, promotes the process of self-becoming, because this is a recurring thought or recurring, philosophical ideas in Nietzsche. And he sees this self-becoming as an ethical ideal. So what does it mean to become oneself? What does it mean? What is oneself? How does one become oneself? And what does this book talks about? And how to interpret this and how to look forward, with his philosophy.
That's such a profound and important question to end on. For Nietzsche, the idea of becoming oneself is really at the heart of his philosophy. It's about a continual process of self-overcoming, of self-creation, and of embracing one's own individuality. In essence, it means living authentically, questioning conventional values, and forging one's own path and meaning in life. In Ecce Homo, Nietzsche is essentially reflecting on his own journey of self-becoming, showing how he strove to transcend the limitations imposed by society and conventional morality. It's about embracing one's own strengths, acknowledging one's weaknesses, and ultimately striving for a higher state of being. To become oneself, according to Nietzsche, means to continually grow, to embrace change, and to challenge oneself to become more than what one currently is. It's a journey of self-empowerment and self-discovery, and it's something that's ongoing rather than a final destination. In terms of interpretation, it's helpful for readers to see Nietzsche's work as an invitation to explore their own potential, to question what they've been taught, and to forge their own path. It's a call to live with courage, to embrace one's individuality, and to always strive for a more authentic and meaningful existence. I think it's a really empowering message, and it's one that can inspire readers to see philosophy as a journey of personal growth and transformation.
Perfect. This was a very wonderful conversation, and I hope our reader have enjoyed this conversation. Again, we are ending on this note, and this profound book that we are going to take on in the next couple of conversations. And I really I thank Professor Vivian for coming and for giving her insightful insight, giving her thoughts and ideas about what Nietzsche might have been thinking while writing this book. And in next conversation we will talk about more of his major late themes like amor fati and eternal recurrence, or overman, will to power, and so on and so forth. So thank you once again. Thanks for coming, and I will see you again tomorrow.
Thank you so much. It was truly a pleasure to delve into Nietzsche's ideas with you, and I'm really glad that we could explore these themes together. I'm looking forward to our next conversation and continuing this philosophical journey. Until then, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.